Today we're diving into a short but incredibly powerful story from the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. It comes from one of the darkest times in human history, but what it reveals about our ability to hope, well, it's just amazing. So, let me start by asking you this. Can a single crumb of bread actually save a person's humanity? I know, it sounds like a huge exaggeration, right? But, as we're about to see, in the right situation, the smallest things can have the biggest impact.
To really get the answer, we first have to understand the world where this story happened. A world that was designed for one single purpose.
I want you to just try and imagine it. An environment where every single detail, everything around you, is engineered to strip you of who you are, your identity, your hope, your sense of self. This wasn't just about being imprisoned. It was a total systematic assault on the human spirit.
And it's right there, in that exact environment, a place of calculated cruelty, that something happens that just shouldn't. Something completely unexpected, an unlikely gesture.
So, really, picture the scene. In the middle of this daily reality of unimaginable hardship and dehumanization, a single moment occurs that just defies all the logic of that place.
A guard, an enemy, a figure of authority and oppression, secretly and quickly slips Viktor Frankl a piece of bread. Now, this wasn't some grand, dramatic act of rebellion. It was quiet, it was fleeting, and you have to believe it was incredibly risky for the guard. And that was it. Nothing more. No words were exchanged, no promise of help later, just that single, isolated gesture. But what that tiny little act represented, that was everything. This is where the story really pivots, It shifts from being about an event that happened outside Frankl to a massive revelation that happened inside Frankl. The actual bread was almost beside the point compared to what it symbolized. See, in that world, an act of unprompted kindness from someone who was supposed to be your oppressor, that wasn't just rare, it was a miracle. It was like seeing a tiny crack of light in a solid wall of hatred. It was proof that something else was still possible. And here, you can really see the incredible scale of it all. The gesture itself was almost nothing, a tiny crumb of bread. But its impact, it was enormous. It was a clear signal, a reminder that human goodness hadn't died. It could survive even in a place designed to be its graveyard. This whole experience led Frankl to this profound realization. It wasn't a simple world of good people versus bad people. He saw that the potential for compassion exists inside every human being, no matter what their role is. The choice to act on it is always there. So, what do we do with an insight that big? Well, this very personal revelation actually holds a universal lesson for all of us about hope itself. Turns out, hope doesn't need a roaring fire to survive. It doesn't need overwhelming proof that things will be okay. Sometimes, all it takes is a single, tiny spark. One small, undeniable sign that goodness still exists. And that spark can be more than enough to light up the darkest path. So, when you boil it all down, this story leaves us with this powerful universal truth. First, that our humanity can survive anywhere, even in the most crushing conditions. Second, that we should never, ever underestimate the power of our smallest actions. And third, that even a tiny spark of goodness is enough to reignite hope, no matter the odds. But this story doesn't just stay in the past. It kind of turns the tables and asks us a question, right here and now. It challenges us to look at our own lives and ask, what small, seemingly insignificant act of compassion can I offer today? Because as we've just seen, you never truly know when a crumb of bread might just save a soul.